Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for the second part of the Remarketing Expert Track of September 22. You've just seen the video of our silver sponsor, BCA, and we go directly to our gold sponsor, which is DAT. So I'm happy to invite Marcela and Javier on stage as well. Because now we are entering into the de-fleeting journey, where a lot of people will have been looking forward also to have after this, and our experts explaining what the current status is. Welcome, Javier, Marcela from DAT Group.
Hi, Johan. Thank you for the invitation.
No problem. Where are you calling from? Are you both from?
We're neighboring countries. I come from Guatemala.
Okay.
And I come from Mexico.
Okay. Well, I know that the fleet people will be there with the Global Fleet Conference, I think, next week. So there's another big event there on the fleet from Fleet Europe, from Global Fleet, actually. So I'm just handing over the word to you so you can share, and it's all about AI in the de-fleeting journey. So all yours.
Thank you. And
thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're really glad to bring you this interesting conversation focused on AI and defleeting. In the next 20 minutes, my colleague and I will be taking you through the defleeting process and support that AI solutions can bring as an enhancing mechanism, not only for inspectors, but for all the stakeholders in this process. First of all, a brief introduction of ourselves. So Marcela, if you could do me the honors.
So yes, hi everybody. My name is Marcela Ortiz. I am an international pre-sales consultant at DAT, and I've been focusing on AI solutions for the past couple of years. So like Javier said, I'm here today with him to talk about the AI in the defleeting process, and very happy to take you in the journey. So Javier, please go ahead.
Thank you, Marcela. My name is Javier Morillo. I am in charge of fleet leasing and mobility provider segment at the DAT Group. Been working already in the company for more than 4 years, and of course, all those years in this segment. So let's get started. So the defleeting process. The defleeting process is an orchestrated process involving many stakeholders. This ensemble has been refined to maximize efficiency at every step. We have benefited from solutions that help create a comprehensive workflow, facilitating work for inspectors, making vehicle compounds more agile, and expediting the inspections of thousands of vehicles. We're not at the moment where AI can help us go a step further. So let's go on the journey together and learn where AI can be the enhancing factor that we need. We'll start from the first step, the return of the leased vehicle. We all know the feeling of the last days before we return our cars. We're asking ourselves some questions in the lines: do I have all the equipment? Did I get over the agreed mileage? How much will I pay for that additional scratch? Or should I have repaired the vehicle myself? Well, the vehicle itself is already at a specific status, but this status is normally not known to the leasing companies until the vehicle arrives. There are many unknowns. Maybe the vehicle has been driven for months or years at a time, maybe even by different drivers under different conditions. There's a lot of information that can be made accessible through AI, not only on this step, but of course, throughout the whole process of defleeting. Marce, I turn to you now to ask you, how can AI help us to shine a light into the status of the vehicle, even before reception?
So yeah, look, the first time of defleeting a car is obviously getting the car back or giving the car back, right? So there are multiple ways that AI can help in this process, and I like to separate them into two categories, a passive one and an active one. So the passive combines VIN identification with a powerful tool that is telematics, for example. With this, the person receiving the vehicle knows exactly what car they should get, which equipment, both standard and extra equipment. So this information can be already input into a pre-report that already is all ready for an easy handover at this stage. So this is the passive stage. But on the other hand, with the active process, it involves directly the lessee or the person with the car. They can have the option to do a guided photo capture process that allows a 360 overview of the car. And this is an AI-based solution that will help identify the type of damages in the car and even give you a repair procedure and even a part price list of all the things that you would need for the repairs. So having this information, the lessee can have the option to either fix the car beforehand so they can avoid any fines when giving it back, or just hand it over as is. In this stage, both processes regroup all of the information that is already available. And often during the refleeting process or in general, there's a lot of information that is just left aside there, sitting, just waiting to be used. So we really need to take advantage of this section. And now that the lessee has given the car back and it's ready to leave, we can move to the next step, which is on the other side, the reception of the car.
Well, that's actually great. We can access so much information from the vehicle even before the vehicle returns to any of the compounds or dealerships of the lessors themselves. The lessor will have a lot of information on mileage, dashboard warning lights, potential body mechanical damages. Imagine how much you can prepare beforehand so that every step down the line can be streamlined. I could see this is pre-ordering parts or pre-booking refurbishment in advance, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So now we are at the reception step. Or, well, how it's also called handover of the vehicle. This is where the vehicle normally is checked for the first time, taking a short inventory of the components that should have been included on the car, of course, probably inviting the lessee for a new lease, a new vehicle, closing a new contract, and more. Marcela, you mentioned already that information can be accessed beforehand. So when you are at this stage, you could potentially have all the information that you need for the pre-checkup of the car. What else can we do with AI at this reception step?
So yes, during the reception of the vehicle, like I mentioned, the person receiving the vehicle will already have all of this information about the car already at its hands. So thanks to the data mined in the first step, they know exactly which car they are dealing with, what type of equipment, like I mentioned, and whether it comes with damages or not, if the lessee has already done this process that I mentioned before. So here, an AI system can create a very simple smart checklist, let's say, that will help confirm that all the components are in fact in the car or if they're missing. If the lessee did not apply the AI damage detection before, then this is the time to do it, and the person receiving the car can go ahead. So the guided photo capture process, like I mentioned, allows this AI system to analyze the pictures and create a pre-report detailing all the potential external damages of the car. Therefore, by knowing this, you can even already get like a total cost of ownership or a residual value that can also be included in the pre-report. And we will see later on how this can impact the next steps of the process. So all of this, you can already see that at this very early stage of the process, there is a lot of information available. We have external damages, interior status, vehicle levels, performance even, and even its value. So all of this combined will automatically be implemented in this report that we've been mentioning and will be available for the inspector and throughout the process. So after the reception, it comes the next step. So please, Javier, talk us through that one.
Well, now we're talking about vehicle residual values even at this stage, and potentially also TCO of the vehicle for any future second life leasing or defleeting side. So really, really exciting. Everything that can be done just by analyzing the data that the vehicle is past and just going around with AI-driven solutions. And we're not even at the state inspection step yet, and we might already have enough information to steer the vehicle either for a remarketing process or refleeting process as well. Let's move to the next step in the journey, the preparation and transportation. We know some vehicles are only processed and inspected at the dealership, but others go a little bit further into leasing compounds, awaiting for professional inspection. In this case, the vehicle status, transportation time, arrival time, and inspection time have to be according to plan. Although the interim step seems to be a little bit more simple than the previous ones, there's still a lot that AI can play as a role to make the step even safer. So, Marcel, my question to you is preparation. What can we do with AI here?
So you're right, you mentioned often the car needs to be moved from one lot to the other, and it's important to make sure that it is in the same status before and after moving it, right? So we know that accidents can happen. There is always mishandling. Human error is obviously always a fact and a possibility that can be in any of the steps. So by implementing AI with a before and after check, we can make sure that the car that you're receiving is exactly the one in the same conditions that the one that they sent you. So the lessor can identify damages attributed to transportation or mishandling and add them to the already existed damage report that was already made at the reception or at the lessee level. So even at this point, telematics can also be used. by using the geolocation of the car, you can have an estimated time of arrival when the car is being in transportation. And with this information, the leaser can optimize the order in which the cars should be inspected. So instead of following a traditional first in, first out process, you can rearrange the order of the cars that you will be inspected to maximize the turnover.
Well, that is great support there. Now with electrification, completely fully electric vehicles in comparison to internal combustion ones, then we know that the inspection requirements, they do differ. So being able to properly book and identify the arrival times for this process is a must. AI truly can involve any stakeholder in the defleeting process, even third parties. This is great. But let's now shift our attention to what some might call the most complex process of the defleeting, which is the inspection itself. And here we know the traditional activities, right? Vehicles arrive to the compound, they're assigned to a slot for being inspected and parked correspondingly. It's then cleaned up in order to ensure that nothing affects the inspection process, not even dirt. And then the moment of magic, the inspectors picks up the vehicles. They have around 12 to 20 minutes average to go around the car, identify all potential damages, big and small as well. The results are then registered, of course, in the inspector report, which is used as the basis for calculating repair, refurbishment cost, and even to identify if the vehicle should be going through this instance or should be sold as is, or maybe even repleted. The inspection process is really complex, but given all the support that we have raising from AI and what AI can provide so far, there's a lot of enhancing potential from the inspection process that I can already see. So, Marcela, in this step, the most complex one,
So
how can we enhance it?
Sorry, you're right. This is not only the complex one, but I would say the most important one as well. So the goal of any good AI system is to support the inspector. Their years of knowledge and experience is extremely valuable, and we're not looking to replace them quite yet. I believe in one of the first presentations that we saw today, there was a mention that AI mimics human intelligence. It doesn't replace it yet, at least. So that's also important to remember. So at this stage, I see, again, two possibilities. The first one, where the car is in good conditions, it doesn't have any repair spending, and is ready to be sold or reintroduced to another fleet. So in this case, the inspector has already all of this report that was made beforehand, and like I said, has this information. So meaning that they already know that the interior and the exterior car are good to go. So instead of spending this, like you mentioned, 12 to 20 minutes, double checking the work that the person at the reception has already done, just to arrive to basically the same conclusion that the car is okay, they can expedite the process and send the car to the next step. So we all know this saying that time is money. So obviously a quick turnover is always welcomed. And then, like I mentioned, this is best case scenario, and we know this is not always the case, unfortunately, for all of us. So what happens when the car is not in the perfect conditions that we would like it to have? So we basically go through the same principle, meaning that the information has already been mined and is available for the inspector. Here the damages were already detected by the AI, and it can create a report with areas of interest, let's say. So the inspector only needs to go and check those areas and give them their expert check of approval, so they can quickly move to the next car in the line. So they don't have to start from scratch, basically. In the same way, telematics provides insights to mechanical problems that are already there or are about to come, which can be added to the repair report. So all of this together really helps the inspector process to automate and streamline the process, and even the refurbishment process, which is the next step coming up.
So AI is fulfilling a supporting role to enhance inspectors' capability even more. So like they say, right? 4 eyes see better than 2, or in this case, 2 eyes plus AI. And we see from what you mentioned, there could be also a tendency to rethink which are the key roles that the people play. If you are just accepting the vehicle and the simple status that it is, then you can use a person that is in the inspection process to become a potential support for the remarketing process. But now let's talk about refurbishment. What happens in this scenario that you mentioned when nothing is perfect, and then we do have to act on specific damages? Well, this step normally does not take place on the installations of any of the leasers. It normally involves a third party, but nonetheless, it does happen. And of course, when this refurbishment step, the car is treated for damages, is repaired, is painted. Many things happen for vehicles in different stages. This is done, of course, for multiple reasons, like ensuring the value of the vehicle remains high on one side, maybe to comply for a second life leasing, or to comply for a defleeting in another country. But at the end of the day, if the process is going to be done, it's part of the defleeting process. Now, we saw that AI supports steps carried out by third parties. We already discussed about the preparation and transportation step. So I'm only wondering, what can AI do for ourselves now that we have another third party involved in the process?
Of course. So at this step, the mechanical and body issues have already been identified. So this information can be used to review repair calculations by the body shop people, and then produce and also check that the spare part list is also accurate and correct, basically. So this can remove some of the tasks that would have been done at the repair shop only after receiving the car, so not before. So if they receive the report that has already been validated by an expert, most importantly, and they already received all the spare parts that they need, then they can just start the repairs right away. Right. So here we're only talking about one single case in this example that we're presenting. But imagine you have a huge fleet of cars that needs to go through the process. Having all this information beforehand is extremely valuable. Not only because you have multiple cars going through it, but because you already have the information available, which means that you can order parts beforehand. And we all know the market as it is now, where sourcing has become a real problem for the industry. It's important to implement proactive processes instead of reactive ones.
Well, I mean, what you're saying right now, we're already seeing positive spillover effects from this process to other processes, specifically the one of procurement or spare part procurement as well. AI can help with these activities with preemptively purchasing spare parts. And this at a wholesale level, if I quite understood you, maximizing the leverage of leasing that the leasing has, so that they do not only worry about one specific vehicle reactively because of the damages that it has, but identifying the same type of damages of thousands of cars you mentioned, and making this wholesale purchase, potentially also maximizing the benefits and discounts of wholesale purchase. It's a great support. But sadly, Marcela, we are now approaching the end of our journey. And now we are at the remarketing, or in some cases, the refleeting step. Here, the fate of the vehicle is traditionally decided. Marketing managers receive this fleet of vehicles at the end of their life cycle, and they need to make decisions of either remarket them or to refleet them. For this, they use different types of tools. You have mentioned already some of the key values that they get, like residual values. They try to identify residual values in different destinations. They use logistic tools and taxation tools to identify which are going to be the potential costs of defleeting vehicles not in the country. They also benefit from additional tools like TCO tools that we have early mentioned at this point. And at the end of the day, they have to make themselves some questions on the basis of, where should I sell my vehicle? Or should I sell the vehicle in the home country? Should I sell it in another country? And by this, of course, getting a higher profit. Or maybe should I refleet the vehicle itself? And when I refleet it, should I refleet it in the country of origin? Or again, maybe I refleet it in a second country. Maybe that's where the second leasing life cycle is going to be more profitable. So there, at the end of the day, not only this, but also multiple sales channels that can be accessed. Marketplaces, auction places, and the likes. Just to wrap up this complete defleeting life cycle, Marce, how can AI help us at this final stage?
So you're right. Like all the questions that you were asking right now, they're all strategy. This step is purely strategy based, let's say, and then identifying the best strategy is key for the defleeting process. So here the AI can support this by providing a complete report of each of the cars of your fleet. So let's say it's kind of a car profile. So with this, for example, you will be able to know the residual value and the TCO, like we mentioned, and have the possibility to compare directly with the rest of the market to a national or international level, which would answer some of the questions you were asking, like where do I send the car afterwards? So you can maximize your profits, basically. So by having also a vehicle health check, you can provide risk assessments of the vehicle that will allow you to know the possible risks and the most known damages per car. So not only you will have the past of the car and the historic information of the car itself, but you can also predict its future by following market trends, or just statistically speaking, like you can predict what the future of the car will be rather well, I would say. So this car profile is a goldmine of information, basically. And AI can help identify unseen risks beforehand, which can help reduce insurance and guarantee costs, for example, which is always a good thing to have. So yeah, to finish this story, I would say that yes, AI can definitely support the defleeting cycle, but it also becomes a very powerful tool for remarketing and sales afterwards for the next life of the car.
Well, Marce, thank you very much for joining me in this journey, in this defeating journey, and for helping us see what AI can do for us in all these stages. AI is indeed an enhancing element for this complete process. Making information on the vehicle available, even from the start of the defeating, is an invaluable tool for all stakeholders. And we already saw, not only involved in this process, but even there's spillover effects. We only just scratched the surface on what the solution can bring. And remember, defeating is only one part of the leasing life cycle. Imagine what we can do in many other stages of the leasing life cycle, having this type of information. But now, there are different solutions providers in the market that can help us improve the defeating journey for the leasers, for the stakeholders out there. And of course, we are one of those companies. We, of course, base this defeating life cycle in what we as the DAT can provide to our customers. So my last question to you, Marce, and I promise this is the last one. Where does DAT fit in all of this?
So that's a very good question. So not only we have at DAT a very diverse portfolio, but all of our products are extremely flexible and customizable, not only to each of the steps of the cycle that we just mentioned, but also to all of the parties involved, whether you're the inspector, the body shop, broker's company, all can be adapted to you. So our AI solution, which is Fast Track AI, it basically sums up all the points that we just discussed and even more, if I can say that. So that offers the possibility to work in an ecosystem where you're connected and you can work with your partners in your own network and streamline the process in a very extremely way. But we know that this is not the reality for a lot of the international markets that we deal with, or even within businesses. It's not always the case. So we also offer the possibility to adapt your current process via APIs, for example, so the transition is as smooth as possible. So I would say, like, at DAT, we believe that AI is the future for the defleeting cycle and remarketing in general. But I would say we don't have to stop at a B2B. Fast Track AI and AI in general can open the door to so many new markets at so many different levels. So from the driver to the inspectors to the private users to virtually anyone that has any contact with a car, you can actively improve the process using AI.
Marce, thank you very much again. Everybody that's watching, thank you as well. If you want to get in contact with us, if you want to go through the defleeting life journey with us again, please contact us. If you're interested also in one of the solutions that we offer for the complete leasing life cycle, even before vehicle production, of course, we're there.
And if you want to have a more in-depth look at the Fast Track AI solution that we offer, please always feel free to contact us, and we'll be more than happy to explain it again.
Thanks a lot. I think this was a very complete overview, and almost if we look at all of your slides afterwards again, we almost got a complete checklist to almost see where people are. So I think that's a good basis for an assessment, which you will probably do with X amount of companies, to probably go over all of this and see where they are. It's good.